What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the collective clips where you already know I get it in. But before we get it in, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all, ding, so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I am kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support. We're going up on this channel and it's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled and very much so appreciative. I know I couldn't do without you, so thank you. So a lot of people have been asking me about an incident that took place about a couple weeks ago, right? And I heard about it. I heard about it the day of. Couldn't miss it. It was all on the news, right? But I kept it to the chest until I did my homework and I knew a little bit more about the situation. Being that it was an ongoing case, I didn't really want to say too much on it. But I'll speak on it a little bit, man, because I've been asked several times about it. So why not, right? Especially with the fact that Big Tone's name is trending right now because he pulled up to the No Jumper podcast. People are of an understanding or maybe a misunderstanding of who that guy truly is and what he's about, right? Now, Big Tone is approaching legendary status in Northern California in the rap game, right? Being the protege of Woody from Antioch, rest in peace, the legend out the Bay. You know, Big Tone's got a lot of love. There's a lot of canalismo there when it comes to his name and his character, right? There's the individuals that feel because he's never did prison time, that he ain't a true homie, but that ain't the definition of a man. Prison, the guy that stays out of prison is a man, right? Of course, I'm not going to say the ones that are in prison aren't men because, hey, they're all men doing their thing, but he was just able enough, you know, he didn't get caught, put it like that, man, and you got to respect it. You know, he had enough wise ways about himself and the way he was making moves and dedicating himself to the rap game. You know, he didn't have no time to be out there creating chaos and getting involved in the mix like that. Now, his music does revolve around Norteño, the movement, and, you know, gangbanging. So there's a lot of people that when they look at Big Tone, they see the image of a Norteño, the gangbanging, they hear the music, and automatically, man, they feel some type of way, whether it's a dislike or a like. It is what it is. Now, Yakima in Washington State, right? And I live in Washington State, and I'll tell you this much. There's a heavy Norteño presence in Washington State. There always has been. There's been for a while. They're well established, especially in the city of Yakima. That's where Babyface Wood is from. Several other rappers, several Norteños. They got some pretty big barrios and they represent that barrio to the fullest and they do their thing. There's a big Southern presence as well in the state of Washington. And I can tell you this, first and foremost, the first time that I ever ran into a Norteño in Washington, right? Washington State, I was working at a company in, I think it was in Vancouver, Washington, right? And, you know, I was chilling one day and at that time, I was non-active, but I was just, you know, getting my little weld on, doing my thing, working. And I remember this vato, I would see him every time he walked past me, he would kind of look at my tattoos, never really said anything. He was also a welder. He was kind of quiet, minded his own business. One day he approached me. You know, he approached me. He's like, hey, bro, what's happening? I was like, what's up? And I could tell just by his mannerisms, the way he acted, he was a homie. He was a Norteño, right? And so I prepared for whatever. You know, if he was going to hit me up, are you active? Because I was going to tell him I wasn't. But that's just the way it was. You know, there's no way I was going to jeopardize my job. But if need be, man, I was going to secure myself for facts, right? And I had already been preparing for this guy. Where I was working in the particular department, man, I had already put a little pedazo together. So I had one on me at all times, sharp than a motherfucker, right? I welded something very, very vicious. So if it came to that, I was going to leave him in his booth, right? Or he was going to leave me in mine. But he didn't approach me in that manner. He's like, hey, homie, where you from? I said, Califas. He said, you used to be a homie, huh? You're not a homie no more. I said, Chale, how can you tell? He said, I could just tell because you're just doing your thing. He goes, look, I'm active, bro. I'm a homie, but I ain't tripping like that. You know, that's different politics. That's California. Now, this was back in the days. See, California has their politics, Norteño politics have leaked off a little bit more into Washington, where now Washington is up to par. They're on the same page, in the same book, conducting themselves in the ways of the Norteños doing Califas, right? So we ended up becoming good friends, going out to eat, hitting them Wendy's for them junior bacon cheeseburgers, right? He just was a good ass coworker, and was a bomb ass welder, but at the same time, he was on that scante, right? And I used to try to give him flecha, like, hey homie, You got to kick back. And he was like, nah, Charlie, fuck that, homies. You should come kick it with the homies. Ain't no one tripping like that. Now, this is pre-YouTube. I wasn't well known like that. I was just, just an ex-homie, just taking care of his familia. And there was a couple times I thought about it. I missed that canalismo. I missed that being a part of something. And I didn't want to fake the funk, but at the same time, I trusted the homeboy enough to say, you know what, maybe I will go through, slide through, kick it with the homies one time and whatever. But I thought better of it, and I said, you know what, that ain't me. I'm older now, partying and doing all that bullshit, the shenanigans. I'm just not with that program. It was probably the best thing because he didn't come to work for a week, man, and come to find out, this individual got caught up, car chase, police chase. They caught him sleeping in the car. He was coming down. Went into the high speed, bucked at him, had illegal. The whole time we're over there supposed to be welding parts, this dude was over there making silencers and shit for guns. Anyways, he caught a Fed case. He was gone, right? And I remember he reached out to somebody on the phone, and they put me on the phone with them, and he was like, damn, bro, you were right. I should have leaned back. Now I'm sober and my mind's straight. And I was like, bro, I just want to see the homies come up, bro. And I felt love for him because he was a good dude, but at the end of the day, he was living that life. So that's the life you live. So that was my first interaction with the Norteño from Washington. Of course, I ended up getting incarcerated. Well, that was my first interaction on the streets. Prior to that, I was incarcerated, and I did run into homeboys from Washington. But this was my first time seeing a homeboy on the streets, right? Now, Trip Out, I forgot all about that. Trip Out, Big Tone is well known. Okay, the way the Norteños move nowadays in Washington is, they're considered a threat. They're considered a very vicious threat, just like the Southsiders are in Washington. Different states conduct their shit different, but one thing I can say about the state of Washington is they're very heavily influenced by the California lifestyle, by what's going on. See, back in the past, it used to be like 10 years behind. What was going on up north or even in Southern California wasn't catching up out of state yet. But now everybody's on the same page with social media, with cell phones, with all this bullshit. You got a lot of vatos that have gone and established in states like Oregon, Washington, Idaho. The whole Pacific Northwest and the West Coast is very well established, right? And like I said, the Norteño beat right there, the Norteños are deep in Yakima. So anyways, the other day, Big Tone is going to do a concert. He was going to do a concert with AWACS, D. Cisneros out of Sacra, a couple other well-known Norteño rappers. They were going to do a concert at this hall, right? And, what I've been noticing lately, the trend is, especially with all this North-South beef going on right now in the music industry, in the rap game, these venues, man, are getting ran up on. That's why I did my video the other day about Bozo pulling up to A-Town to Atwater. Albeit Atwater is a very well-established Southern stronghold when it comes to the upstaters. But again, man, with the way Bozo has talked in the past about the Norteños, I could not see him going up there and getting protected. I could see him showing the upstaters love and doing his thing, man, and moving like that. But he has to be very cautious in his movements, especially in the Central Valley. Because people sleep on the Central Valley, man. They don't understand. It's really gangbanging out there. There's really motherfuckers that'll tear your top off in real life, right? Murder capital type shit. The Central Valley has always smacked some shit back, north and south. They be going at it, right? So for someone of Bozo's caliber to pull up out there, I was very concerned with his well-being, his safety and security, and just knowing that the Norteños, man, he's considered a trophy for all the bad and derogatory things he said on social media about Norteños. And there's them youngsters out there that don't play. They don't play, man. They're willing to go catch that life case over someone who they consider a trophy, man. Albeit it's not going to mean much when they go to prison. What happened? Smack Bozo. Was that right? And they're going to push on, right? But, there are those that are willing to take the initiative to do that. So he's got to be very cautious. Just because you go to a city that's predominantly Southsider doesn't mean you're protected like that. Now, I'm sure he would go with a whole bunch of his camaradas and homeboys. He's not going to be lacking. But that doesn't matter, man. For those that have never been to the city of Atwater, it is surrounded by the northern influence. And there's nowhere to run or nowhere to hide, man. You got to stand your ground like the vatos from A-Town have been doing, I respect the fact that they're still there. They stood their ground for decades now. So anyways, Trip Out. Big Tone is going to do a concert in Washington a couple weeks ago, right, with other well-known Norteño artists. And you would think in the city of Yakima that's predominantly Norteños that he'd be cool. That's why I say it's the same type of situation with Bozo and Atwater, right? But that wasn't the case. See, in social media, when you're putting your flyers out there, and you have to, in order to get it out there that you're performing, you have to put flyers out there. You use social media as a way to spread the gospel, Billy Graham style, that you're going to be performing, right? Everybody sees that. And whoever, I'm not going to say it was one particular group because I'm not for sure, but according to what the authorities have said and what I've read and what I've heard, man, it was considered a gang beef, right? It was gang related. So we can only assume, that it was the other side, or that it was individuals that did not like Big Tone and what he was pushing, right? But anyways, they pull up to this concert, man, and they're doing their thing. And just like it's been happening, there was shit that happened outside. See, usually it doesn't escalate to getting inside. See, I'm sure inside that pavilion where they were performing that hall, there were several Norteños, right? Because that's who's going to show up. That's the fan base of Big Tone and those other individuals. It's, these guys, these rappers, these Northern California rappers and Southern California rappers, they perform for their gente. Their fan base is going to be predominantly gang members of the same influence. People that, are on the same page with them. People that rock with their music. There's going to be, of course, civilians, people that just like good hip hop and music and want to go out for a night on the town. But the majority of the people that are going to be in that hall, in that venue, are going to be those that identify and recognize and rock with them, right? So he's going to have a big movement in there, right? So there was plenty of Norteños in that hall. And these guys from the other side, or whoever chose to do this shooting that took place, right? They knew that. And, when you're gangbanging and you're in the mix, that's like the golden egg. That's the golden goose that laid the golden egg. To know where your adversaries or your enemies are at is a great thing, because then the pull-up can be as real as it can be. And the whole thing in gangbanging is get as many off the map as you can. So if you know that there's a whole bunch of Norteños and there's a big Norteño concert going on, or Southsider concert going on, what do you think's going to happen? In a place that's split 50-50 or maybe 60-40, in a place where there's Southsiders and Northerners and a lot of Southerners in the surrounding area, of course there's going to be playthrough. There's going to be funk. But just like in Santa Cruz with the GB and Acito concert, these guys didn't quite make it in. They decided to pop off where they were mad at. So allegedly what happened was there was a group of Norteños that were posted up outside waiting to get into the concert, and individuals drove by in cars and did a drive-by. Okay, they let off, they seen a group of Northerners, they let off, and there was shooting back and forth, allegedly, and an innocent bystander was hit. Now, ain't that always the case? That's why drive-bys, things like that are bullshit, right? And they were shut down in California in the 90s, because usually it's not the target that gets hit, it's usually an innocent bystander, and in this case, it was a vagrant, someone who was like a street person, that wasn't gang related, wasn't even involved in the concert, just happened to be in that area, probably tripping out all high, like, damn, what's going on over there, right? There's a lot of people. And when the shit started popping off, he was shot. Now, shit happens all the time. That's gangbanging for you, right? It's nothing new. But a lot of people were like, have you heard about the incident, the Big Tone concert? Of course. Now, that only shows you the influence and how really in the streets Big Tone is, or what people consider him to be. Now, from everything I know about Tone, man, he once was in the streets in the 90s, same era, doing his thing, rocking with Woody, really gangbanging, but he's kind of got out of that mix. He still is solid and in good standings with the Norteños. You see him constantly with the homies doing concerts at car shows and this and that. And in Northern California, that's fine. To be totally honest with you, the upstate movement is growing. It's getting bigger. I did a video about it the other day. They're constantly growing in numbers. But still, these northern concerts that happen in Northern California, the Southerners know not to pull up to these because they will be outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered. That's a fact, right? It's the same thing if Norteños decided to pull up to anything past Bakersfield, man, it's going to be a wrap. They're going to be in trouble, right? And everyone knows this. And you ain't a punk because you don't pull up. You're smart, right? Anyways, in Washington, it's tricky. It's different because it's split so evenly. These type of concerts, constantly get shot out, man. There's a well-known concert, a Big Tone concert that happened back in the days where stabbings and shootings occurred as well. It seems like every time Tone pulls up, they're waiting. They're waiting because they know he brings a heavy presence of Norteños to that general area wherever he's at, man. And so Vatos figure, hey, that's gangbang. And then it happens, man. I've told a story about in Stockton, the Little Rob concert. Now, albeit Little Rob is not considered a Southsider or doesn't consider himself one, but he is from Southern California, and the Norteños, once they see a vato from Southern California, whether it's a resident, anything like that, they're gonna pull up, especially in a place like Stockton that's 90% Northerners and the other 10% blacks, right? They're gonna pull up, and they did. You know, in Merced, the Lightest Shade of Brown concert, same thing. San Francisco, you know, the Kid Frost concert, San Jose, Little Rob. All these different incidents take place in Northern California. And so I understand why the Southerners feel the way that they feel. And when they get the opportunity to fucking get the upper hand and do their thing, they're going to do it. So anyways, yeah, they pulled up. Somebody pulled up to the Big Tone concert in Yakima and lit the spot up, right? Now, of course, no gang members were injured. Like I said, it was just a homeless man that was injured. Did he die? I'm not too sure. But from what I was hearing from a homeboy from out here, he told me, he said, hey, bro, you know, them vatos were lying in wait. They already knew what it was. And I said, well, of course. You know, that's what happens with these flyers and the social media and everyone knowing exactly where you're going to be. You know, there's a big thing on social media. Never let anyone know where you're dwelling, where you lay your head, where you're at. You know, we've seen over and over again people that go live constantly, getting smacked on live, Facebook lives, YouTube, all that. Talking that high power shit to get you caught up, right? Voicing your opinion and people not agreeing with you will get you caught up. You never know what anyone else is thinking. So it's not being a punk or being scary not to let people know where you're at. It's being smart. It's playing the game correctly, man. Now, if you're feeling some type of way and you want someone to pull up on you, then you guys can set that up behind the scenes. But when you're on social media screaming at the top of your lungs where you're at, pull up. Vatos will pull up. You know, there are those that take the initiative to do that. In this case, it was bound to happen. It was bound to happen, you know, and out of state is different. Like I said, man, in Washington, you know, I could go to a gas station and see 5, 6 Northerners or 5, 6 Southerners on any given day. It just is what it is, man. They're both here in this area, right? I'm not saying I'm in Yakima. I'm just saying I'm not far, right? But I'll say this, you know, does that spark a flame? Is there going to be retaliation and get backs? I'm pretty sure vatos are angry and upset because that venue was ruined. Just like I'm sure vatos will be upset in Atwater if that venue gets ruined. You know, it's fucked up because especially these out-of-state places where you don't get too many big artists, big names coming. You know, when you finally get someone that you're looking forward to seeing, you take your old lady out on night on the town, you're going to enjoy yourselves. This type of shit happens. But you have to understand the line between gangbanging and this music nowadays when it comes to Chicano rap, Mexicans, it's blurred already, right? That's when you're going to a gangster rap concert and they're constantly talking about upping the pole and applying pressure and killing off the enemies and smacking some shit, then shit starts getting to get smacked in real life. And that's what happened outside this concert. Like I said, it was 2 carloads, they're saying, that pulled up and just started letting off. Now, you got to remember, because there's a big heavy influence of California politics in Washington and other states on the West Coast, you would think that drive-bys and things of that nature wouldn't happen. But again, man, each state conducts themselves the way they want. And so shit happens. There's even in California, man, people are like, drive-bys no longer happen. They don't happen or are not spoken upon the way you would think. Nowadays, people justify it or found a loophole. They'll just pull up, park, jump out the whip, let you have it real quick, and then get to pushing, right? Same thing. Only back in the 90s, in our days, they would just drive by and whoever got hit, got hit. Nowadays, they'll park for a second, give you the business, and then get to pushing, right? And that's what happened. But there was gunfire back and forth. Again, did this venue get shut down? Obviously, right after that, man, you know, that's that for that concert. And it starts to alert society into what's going on. And they're going to shut these type of things down. These type of artists are not going to be allowed to do concerts. So it fucks up their pockets. And ultimately, that's what the enemy wants. They want to ruin the venue. They want to smack as much fucking enemies as they can. And hopefully that these guys don't come back. But look at it. What's the hatred there? You're mad at rap artists because they're not from the same area as you when it's all the same damn thing. You know? Now, you know, other Southern artists are going to think, damn, if I go up there, what's going to happen to my venue? Are these vatos going to retaliate? Is there going to be some smackage backage? You know, is there going to be some doubling back? Obviously, and pretty much so, there might be, just based upon, man, that's what gangbanging is. It's a back and forth thing that never stops. Anyways, the Big Tone concert was shot up. And like I said, there's a history there. It's not the first time. But I wanted to speak on it because, it's relevant to what's going on now. The video I'm going to do in a little bit on the other channel, Gunners Collective TV, make sure you tap in, where Big Tone pulled up to No Jumper. And I wanted just to show you the legitimacy behind his name. If he wasn't really pushing in the streets or a factor, then things like this wouldn't happen, right? He is considered a righteous, solid norteño, allegedly. I don't want to, get him validated, but I'll say this. A lot of people aspire to rock like Tone and to do it the right and the correct way. Again, man, like I said, him having never been in prison and all that is not a mark against him. It just shows that he was making power moves wearing shower shoes while other ones were just wearing shower shoes. And that's just simply put, everyone now in social media or in life, they base your gangsterisms upon if you've been incarcerated or not. Even us that have been locked up, ex-cons, if you haven't been to a 4-yard or 3-yard, we're going to look at you some type of way. We're going to look at you like, nah, homie, you weren't in prison. You weren't on a real yard. I know Wes Watson, he gets the... he hates me, because he ate me. He gets the same type of ridicule because he was only on the 2 yards when he was yelling that he was on 4 yards. And then people like Swifty Blue that, was on the Hoover side of the LA County Jail. People are going to be like, hey, bro, you never pushed where you were supposed to, so you're not solid. And it don't mean nothing, man. Jail is jail. Don't matter where you're incarcerated. You're locked the fuck up. That's how I feel about it. Now, I'm going to give people a hard time, too, about being on level 1s or 2s. Because I feel, having been incarcerated and those around me feel the same way. It's like, come on, bro, you had it easy. But hey, they had it easy because they weren't doing the stupid shit that I was doing, so I can't be mad at them. But Big Tone's a real one. And we're going to speak on that a little bit more on the other fucking video I'm going to do, again, on Gunners Collective TV. Make sure you guys tap in. Anyways, with that being said, man, that's what happened, the Yakima incident. Have they arrested anyone? No, they haven't. Is it a matter of time? Yes. It's only a matter of time, man. When shit happens on the streets, someone speaks on it. People want that fame and glory. Usually people that get caught up behind shootings, random shootings, it's because they speak, they pillow talk with their old lady, or they brag about it, or they're all happy that, hey, guess what? I shot up a Big Tone concert. Next thing you know, hey, mom, can you send me $10? What are you locked up for? Shooting up a Big Tone concert, right? And ultimately, Tone's all right. I mean, now he's in LA doing interviews. So it didn't stop nothing. He's still going to be a rapper. He's still going to do what he does. All it did was fuck up the shows for the community and make the community and law enforcement aware of exactly what's going on. And it just fucks up everything all the way around, man, for the gente. That's one thing about the Mexicano movement is we can't never have shit because we always fuck it up. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. I'm going to continue to do what I do. I know you guys, there's some of you that are waiting on the Super Norteño. You just never know when he's going to pop up. Just in the abuela, and everything's going to be all right. On pyro. Oh, I'm not a pyro, I'm a suit. Show! Órale. The gun. Bang, bang.